Welcome from the NAACP, Roy Wilkins, Mid-Manhattan Branch. Tonight, we enjoy presentations from Kanene Holder, Occupy Wall Street Movement Organizer, Cheryl Wills, New York One news anchor and author of Die Free, a heroic family tale, George Faison, founder of the Faison Firehouse Theater and cultivator of young talent. We will also hear action alerts from Branch Vice President Gary Johnson and a song from Branch Secretary Sandra May Flowers. We come to you from the Mid-Manhattan Branch.
Welcome to the General Membership Meeting of the Mid-Manhattan Branch NAACP. My name is Jeffrey Eaton, President. As we generally start, we have a moment of meditation and silent prayer to open every one of our meetings, and we'll begin with that now. So I'll ask everyone to stop what you're doing, stand completely still, and meditate for a moment. That means turning off the water, Harriet, please.
Okay.
And just stop what you're doing and let's meditate in prayer. Thank you. We're going to go a little out of order this evening because we have three distinguished guests, two who are very special to our great city, and one who's a newcomer is doing something very special that she will talk about. So what we're going to do is do the reports of the committees, and I'll read the alerts after the presentations, and I'll ask your indulgence to allow me to do this for this one-time meeting because of the weather and because our VIPs have some other commitments this evening, and I don't want to jeopardize what they have to do going forward this evening, especially under the weather that is very damp and wet this evening. So I'm going to ask everyone to rise for the singing of our national anthem. And if you have a very strong voice, it's your time to show out. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the blazing sky. Let it sound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the goddess has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. My first Vice President, Mr. Gary Johnson, is going to go through some of the action alerts before we get to our distinguished guests.
Good evening. Good evening. Very quickly, because we're in a packed program, there is an action alert dated October 4th from the national organization. I'm just going to read you the title and I'll go through a couple of brief details. You all know where to find it. It's NAACP.org. This is an action alert for the Americans Job Act, which has been introduced in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. This job bill will create jobs train workers, assist in creating and expanding small businesses, and will extend unemployment insurance and prohibit discrimination against the unemployed. The full details are much too detailed to go through right now, so I do ask that you go through and log into NAACP.org. In addition to that, I do want to quickly state that the national organization has and will be issuing an official statement in support of the Occupy Wall Street movement. So this was resolved over the weekend. The National Board met and voted on this. And there is a statement coming out in solidarity with and in support of the basic principles and goals of the Occupy Wall Street movement. So, give a round of applause for that quick action.
These are the congressional records. Printed.
Okay, congressional record, you know where to find it. Nothing really jumping out at me.
Oh, it is in the scans. This is the printed congressional record, which is in the Library of Congress, which you can pull up on thomas.gov. This record was a speech made on September 20th in recognition of the NAACP Mid-Manhattan Branch 45th anniversary of its founding charter and in celebration of their 10th annual Freedom Fund White Wilkins Award Luncheon. And that's on page E1667 of the congressional record. The second printed copy is in recognition of the 75th anniversary and Diamond Jubilee celebration of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People New York State Conference. And that was printed on E1781 and on E1782. So you can find that both on the Library of Congress. Just Google it and type in the words, or you can just put in the words of the association, and you can find it in the record. We are in the record. Can I get a round of applause for that? That don't sound excited. Not every branch is in the congressional record, especially our 75th anniversary. All right, okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Standing in front of me is the second place prize award of the Firehouse that we won in Los Angeles, California at our 102nd National Convention. It's for best program, for best programmatic activity out of 2,200 branches across this country because of programs that we're having this evening. 2,200. And we could not won this award wasn't for your support as members and membership and being part of our programs. So thank you very much. I accept this award on behalf of all of us. Thank you. We're going to go right into the program, and I'm going to introduce to you a young lady that I met down at Zuccotti Park. Her name is Kanene, and if I'm pronouncing it wrong, she'll correct me. And she's one of the organizers of Occupy Wall Street. She is going to come forward and give you a very short presentation of what they're doing, where they're going. And as you heard from our first Vice President, the NAACP is in full support of Occupy Wall Street, and the statement will become forthcoming. I bring you Kanene Holder.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to say that I have been going down to Occupy Wall Street every day for 3 weeks. I've been in the social justice movement basically my entire life. I'm also an educator. I was the director of the history department at Harlem Children's Zone. So obviously, I occupy a space of freedom for all people, and specifically also for Black people. So if I have been embedded in this movement for 3 weeks, I'm able to tell you exactly if this movement is sincere and if it is welcoming to each and every one of you. And I have to say, honestly, that it is. We need your voice. This is a global movement as well as a local movement. It doesn't matter who started it. This is a relay race. We're passing each other the baton, right? How many people?
Right.
How many people have seen the play The Mountaintop that is on Broadway right now? One of the key phrases at the end is pass the baton. And that is what this movement is about. We are occupying our full humanity, and that is under attack. It is under attack from corporate powers, from corruption, from Wall Street, from government. It's in our water, it's in our food. We are not allowed to occupy our full humanity. We are too busy on food, water, shelter, food, water, shelter. We're not able to reach our apex, who we truly are. All that to say, I'm gonna bring it back to something small. How many people in this room right now are dissatisfied with something? I just need a hand, a voice. It's great. So that means you have more in common with the people in the Occupy Wall Street movement than you do with people who sit on the sidelines and fester instead of foster change. How many people want to foster change?
Right.
Yeah.
How many people want to continue to fester?
Oh, yes.
We have to be proactive in this movement.
That's right.
Trust me, I know. Oh, it started by white people. Oh, they're always the first ones. They're going to get all the attention and we're not. And then when we join this movement, they're going to sit there and use us for all we got and then not give us what we need. Right? Affirmative action. This goes on and on. But I've been there for 3 weeks, and trust me when I say that if I was not down with the cause, I would have pieced out and also spread the same message to you in reverse, meaning don't do it, don't go. And I'm not here to say that. So you can contact me at K, A, N as in Nancy, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, E as in Edward, Holder, like Eric Holder, HOLDER, @gmail.com. I'm a representative for POCUPY, People of Color Occupying Wall Street, and so they.
There you go.
I got
Occupy.
POCUPY. Okay. K, you have cards. That would be better. So.
Well, repeat it for the camera.
Sure.
This will be rebroadcast.
Yes, indeed. So God help my email account at this point. Huh. Okay, K, A is in Apple, N is in Nancy, E is in Edward, N is in Nancy, E is in Edward, .holder, HOLDER, @gmail.com. KANENE, .holder, @gmail. I'll give you one more thing and hopefully it'll, I don't know, quickly. POCUPY is real easy. POC, Occupy, Wall Street. If you just Google people of color and Occupy Wall Street, it will come up. Google people of color, Occupy Wall Street, and it will come up. It is specifically a working group to work and massage our issues, which include police brutality, which include lack of health care and housing, which include the economic disparities and gentrification. So this is a real movement. We're not dancing around the issues. We're speaking truth to power. And the entire movement wants us and is desperately seeking our voices because we are the 99%. Okay? So thank you all very, very much.
Who are we?
The 99%!
Who are we?
99%!
Who are we?
99%!
Let's give Occupy Wall Street a standing ovation and our full support. Stand up.
Wow.
99%. Let me see you stand up.
So I will stay for the duration of the meeting. I've been a member of NAACP, so I'm not just coming here right now.
Yeah.
I have.
That's right.
I'm currently unemployed, but you know. So I will give you the information. If you didn't get it now, I'll give it to you before the end. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please hold your questions or emails and addresses till after the meeting. We'll be here. All right? This is not something that's going to go away. Now it's Occupy the United States of America. Okay, this movement has gone everywhere, and it's spreading like army ants. Okay. Before we introduce one of our special guests, my secretary Sandra May Flowers is going to give you a little musical interlude, and this is in celebration of Harry Belafonte singing a song. I don't know if you guys saw this on Monday evening on HBO, the documentary of Harry Belafonte. We'll make sure that's in our next mailing, and maybe we'll view that at one of our meetings. But it's a powerful documentary that talks about the life of Harry Belafonte in the civil rights movement, in the humanitarian rights movement, and in the activism movement, and back right here. And it talks full circle from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s to today. And you can see the comparison, how some things change and how some things stay the same. But in this time right now, people are trying to roll back things that we accomplished, and that film talks about that. So I bring you Sandra May Flowers.
Got over nervousness, so I guess I was wrong.
Take a deep breath and let it go.
The song I'm going to sing for you is the Lord's Prayer. You can sing it in your heart with me as well. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Will make the first presentation.
Okay, I'm going to sing this intro. No, I'm not. Okay. I am honored to introduce George Faison tonight, who is the founder of the Faison Firehouse Theater. I'm going to read you some of his bio, but most of it is in your program, so we're not going to take too much time there. For more than 35 years, Mr. Faison has been a driving force in the theater, as well as film, video, television, concert and dance, concert staging, television commercials, and trade shows. He's internationally recognized as having achieved a preeminent place among the world's most important directors, choreographers, and writers, and is known for his uncompromising pursuit of artistic excellence in the production and nourishment of socially relevant art and artists. He has a keen eye for recognizing emerging talent, such as S. Ipatha Neckerson, Debbie Allen, Stephanie Mills, Felicia Rashad, Eartha Robinson, Gary Deloach, Shendrak Anderson, Jackie and Hinton Battle, among others. He has lent his talents to commercial videos and trade shows. His clients include the Ford Motor Company, Lincoln Mercury, AT&T, IBM, Otis Elevators, GlaxoSmithKline, Peugeot, BMW, Pfizer, all the 500 organizations. So without further ado, I welcome him, and I welcome him to you, George Faison.
Hello, everybody. The young lady that spoke to you first is the young lady that you so appropriately opened the program with is one of our children. My whole purpose in doing the things, I opened the Firehouse at 124th Street and been there 12 years and nurturing these young talents. What I tell the students that who are in my outreach and so forth are that they are the future leaders, and that's what I'm nurturing. The spirit that you have right here with the NAACP, because while I was still in high school, stood under the tree and heard that speech in Washington, D.C. in August of that year when we did the March on Washington. So we've been in that fight a long time. The fight continues. I want to tell the young lady that it's great to see that you have picked up the baton and moved on, because we are the ones that told the world how to sing, "We Shall Overcome." So it is our movement. They may have white faces down there in Sakati Park, but that is our movement. That's how it started. You think it's gone global because it's gone global, but not until they saw us attacked in Birmingham on that bloody Sunday did the world even see how we were really being treated. You know, I've written shows and so forth. I did the Dorothy Heights story and this, that, and the other, but it's like I lived through all of that. Our time has come again for us to get behind our young people. Now, what I've done up at the Firehouse, I know y'all say singing and dancing, that's what you think. We are not doing that. We are talking about guns, gangs, violence, teen pregnancy, you know, all of the things that are plaguing us right now. So yes, you can go anywhere and learn how to dance. You can go anywhere and learn how to sing and do all of those things that are so important. But I am interested in the human being and who that is, and the contribution, like so many of you have given actually the world. And I have a young lady. I'm saying that we used to enjoy so many things. We took pride in being experts at what we do. We have studied hard. We've gone to colleges. We have mastered techniques. We have done all of the things. We have invented many things. And now we are sitting here looking for the answer. And the answer is moving on. Now this next young lady that I'm calling up, Jasmine Thomas, is going to be part of a program that, you know, I am getting behind, and that's the Harlem Opera Theater. Now I've done theater, you know I've done theater, but I've also known all of these people. I've known Leonard DePore, Leon T. Price, or you know them, I know them. You know what I mean? It's so Kathleen Battle, the blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. But they are living in our children today. The Billie Holidays, the poets, all of them, they are alive. They are alive. They live. And we have this program coming up, I have on December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at the Firehouse. And I'm, again, promoting these young people. She is now 23. Here they stand. They are this young and younger. You know, they're not all shooting. They're not all, you know, gangbangers. They're not all baby mamas and this and that and the other. They're not all of that. They are your dream. Living here. Jasmine Thomas.
spiritual, give me Jesus. In the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You have all of this world, but give me Jesus. Dark midnight was my cry. Dark midnight was my cry. Dark midnight was my cry. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You may have all of this world, but give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Nobody but Jesus. Oh, you may have all of this world, but give me Jesus.
Jasmine, we have to keep moving. We have to keep moving. Jasmine is one of the artists that we are promoting. You know, nurturing, mentoring. This is what the Faison Firehouse is doing in Harlem. I'd like to say, you know, but we are following in a great tradition because Cheryl Wills premiered her book at the Faison Firehouse. I'm telling you, it's all in the family. Get behind them. It lives, the spirit lives, he lives.
Is it Mr. Faison? He's not the yellow brick road. This is 2011.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
As I get this table in order for our next speaker, I'm going to ask my Youth Council President, I want you all to give her an resounding hello. And I'll introduce you to you, the Honorable Mercedes Ortiz, who will tell you something about herself, when she got elected, where she goes to school, how old she is, where does she live, before she makes her presentation. I bring you our President of the Youth Council, Mercedes Ortiz. Please welcome her. Resounding. Are you fired up? Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Youth Council President of the Mid-Manhattan branch. I got elected a couple months ago. I'm 16, will be 17 in December, and I'm so glad to be here. I go to the High School of Economics and Finance, and that is on Wall Street, right across the street from Occupy. And I can proudly say I occupied for 2 weeks. Okay, I'm here to introduce the lovely Cheryl Wills. Cheryl Wills is an award-winning anchor and reporter for Time Warner Cable's flagship national news network, New York One News, based in New York City. She has been with the news channel since its launch in 1992, and the journalist is also the author of Die Free, a heroic family tale, which traces her great-great-great-grandfather, Sandy Wills' courageous service in the Civil War as a member of the United States Colored Troops. On March 25th, 2011, Cheryl Wills made history as the first journalist invited to speak inside the United Nations General Assembly Hall for the International Remembrance of Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. Cheryl is also a blogger for the internationally renowned The Huffington Post, and she contributes to us in Stockholm. I introduce the lovely Cheryl Wills.
Yeah.
I'm a sanctified soldier in the army. I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. I'm a sanctified soldier in the army. That's the song I heard my grandmother, God bless her soul, she'll be 85 soon. And she still sits at the piano every Sunday morning. I had the privilege, the honor of being raised in a little sanctified church that was about this size. And my grandfather was the preacher, my grandma, and he played guitar from the pulpit. And my grandmother was right by his side on the piano. And when she sang, her voice boomed out, and the people would sit and shout and dance in the seats. And then my father was the deacon, and he was on guitar. And my family was just a beautiful expression of God's love. They didn't have no money, but they had Jesus, and they used to say, I got Jesus, and that's enough. And I would sit on the front pew of that little storefront church, and I didn't even know what I was looking at. You know when you see something so beautiful in your childhood and you don't even know that it's temporary. You just think it's going to be like this always. Well, what happened to me, that father of mine who was also the church deacon, he would stand in front of the church and take up the offering, and he would read the 20th Psalms every Sunday, and it was the most beautiful thing. He was so eloquent. He was so dynamic. He was a paratrooper who served during the Vietnam era. He was a New York City firefighter, and I would sit right there and look at my father say, the Lord heareth thee in the day of trouble. The name of God of Jacob defend me. And that was his cue for the church to come up and give their little offerings. And they would put little crumpled dollar bills in the church plate. Oh, it was beautiful to see. I wish someone had told me that it would be so short-lived. One day my father, Clarence Wills, got fed up with that little storefront church. And he realized that all those songs they were singing, they didn't truly believe the word. And he found out that his father, that sanctified holiness preacher that would stand and give fiery sermons and tell the church, you going to hell if you don't do it this way. You got to be baptized in this name, and you got to speak in tongues. Turns out he was a hypocrite. Oh, no. And it broke my father's heart. And one day my father finally had had enough. He had his 5 children. And he said, I'm out of here, you phony, and I'm never stepping foot in this church again. And us 5 little children, we said, well, what's going on here? Our lives had suddenly changed. And that deacon who wore tailored suits and stood so eloquently and took the offering with pride in that little storefront church, joined a motorcycle gang, left my mother, got some girlfriends, knocked one of them up, and it was with that gang that my father got killed on the Williamsburg Bridge, September 4th, 1980. I was 13, my autistic brother was 12, my sister Crystal was 8, and I had 2 who was twins, 6 years old. And all 5 of us children sat on the front pew of a church in Rockaway, with half the New York City Fire Department, half of the Masons, and along the church was all his rugged motorcycle bums in a holiness church. Well, that hurt me so bad at 13. I always tell people, when you see me on TV, because of that single tragedy in my life, I could be standing here as an anchor, or I could be standing here as someone seeking shelter, homeless, drug addict, prostitute. Because this is how it happens. When someone breaks your heart as a child, you could go either way. So I go on my little journey, and I always felt my Father's Spirit was with me somehow, but naturally I went into a depression as a little teenager. I got 4 little sisters and brothers now. My mother's trying to still be young and trying to get her life back together after her no-good husband, as she called him, went off and got himself killed. So God blessed me. That little church did teach me something. Yes. And it taught me to have faith even when the sun ain't shining.
Oh, yes.
So I had faith, and I went to college, and the fire department gave me a little scholarships. I ended up in Syracuse, majored in broadcast journalism, and God blessed and opened doors, and I saw through that dream to be a journalist. But I was never satisfied, because something in me always said, why did my father do this? How could a man of this intelligence have thrown it all away just because he was disappointed by his father? Who would walk away from, who are we? Who are the Willses anyway? Why is our last name Wills? And then you know that old saying, you seek, you knock. Well, I went on a website, and lo and behold, I found that I and my father, who died thinking basically he was a nobody, despite his success in life, he was still quite insecure. And my father, it turns out, was the descendant of a Civil War veteran. I went online and found out that Sandy Wills was a slave at 10 years of age who was purchased by Edmund Wills, a slave trader. And he stood on the auction block at 10, and he took that little boy named Sandy, and he became Sandy Wills on the Wills Plantation in Haywood County, Tennessee. And while he was on that plantation, he bonded with 5 boys who were also owned by Edmund Wills: James, Andy, Mac, Dick, and Richard. And those boys did what boys do on the plantation. They ran around, they grew up, they did everything they were told to do. 1863, those boys, led by my great-great-great-grandfather, stole away and went and fought for their freedom in the Civil War. When I learned this, all I could think about was, oh, if my father could have known this. If my father had known of our legacy, maybe it would have given him the pride to say, you know what, I'm disappointed, but I'm not going to let my disappointment destroy the next generation that I've created. But he didn't have the benefit of that wisdom. But I do. So what I did, I went to all the publishing houses. I said, I've been on TV on New York 1, 15, 20 years. Surely they're going to publish this story. They looked at me like, a story about slaves? And your father, you know, you have a little visibility in New York, but no. And I said, really? Okay. Went to another big publisher. Walked in. They all knew who I was. You know, Cheryl, there's really no market for it, you know, and black people don't really read. So. And that was a black person that told me that. Yeah. So let me tell you something, my friends of the NAACP, and I'm a member of this chapter. I pay my dues, I want you to know.
Good.
And when they told me that, I was a little discouraged. But you know what? I said, I will not repeat my father's mistakes. I don't need your approval to tell this story. So I found a publisher. Now here I am in the biggest market in the world. I had to go all the way to Minnesota. And they published my book. And it starts with my father's funeral. And some people say, well, where'd you get the courage to keep going? I said, the moment I found out the blood that was in my veins, the moment I learned that that slave boy that they looked at and expected he would never amount to nothing, I said, you don't have to tell me anything else. I'll take it from here, sister, because if he could do that, then surely his great-great-great-granddaughter can walk and do whatever is needed for her today. You cannot tell me what I cannot do. I don't need your help. I will get this done. So these same people who didn't believe in me, these same people who said it's not going to sell, black people don't read. Oh, black people been reading because I've sold thousands of copies of Die Free. I have been invited to speak at the United Nations, while the people who I know that got the big deals, they haven't been invited to speak there. And I'll tell you, when I walked out on that international stage, where kings and queens and diplomats have spoken to a global audience, some people said, are you sure you're ready for that? I said, well, ready or not, I'm walking, because I have tapped into the wisdom of my ancestors. My father is here. My great-great-great-grandfather is here. And with them beside me, there is nothing I can't do. So I walk and laugh at me, talk about me. It's all good, because I'm moving a straight line right down the road, and I don't care what anybody says about it. There has to come a time where we tap in to the strength of our ancestors.
That's right, that's right.
The media will have you think that slaves did nothing but what they were told. I don't see it that way, and I know it's not that way, because I got the records of my own ancestors, and I see that they were dignified in the face of the unspeakable. They were courageous when the entire system, from the top to the bottom to the mess in between, was united to tell them you're going to be born a slave and you're going to die a slave, and it ain't even worth you recording your own birthday, because we don't care when you came and we don't care when you go. But you know what's beautiful that I found, and then I'm going to let you continue with your meeting, and it's something that changed my life. He married a woman named Emma. Emma, after the war, married Sandy. They had 9 children. And this story changed me forever. Every child she had, she didn't know her birthday. My great-great-great-grandma Emma I'm talking about. Sandy, the soldier, didn't know his birthday. But every child she had, she went to her former master. They stayed friendly even after slavery ended. And she would take a Bible someone gave her as a present. And she would say, could you write the name of my firstborn in this Bible? They didn't understand. They said, okay, Emma. And they would write, Alex Wills, September 25th, 1869. She had another baby. Can you write? Because you know the slaves were illiterate. Can you write the name of my 2nd child, my 3rd child, my 4th child, my 9th child? She had all 9 children recorded in her Bible. Why is that important? because when her husband died, she applied for a Civil War pension. Yeah. First thing they said to her, nigga, where were you born? Where's your birth certificate? She couldn't provide it. As if suddenly everybody had amnesia. Why didn't the slaves have a birth? What do you mean why they didn't have a birth certificate? You didn't issue them one. So they rejected her. Then she came back with a lawyer. Well, I demand to get the pension my husband fought in the Civil War. Well, give us proof of his birth. She didn't have it. They rejected her. She went back one more time and they said, okay, give us proof of your children's birth. And she grabbed that little Bible and she said, here it is. Joe Moore signed their names, all 9 of my children, every one of them as they were born. And he filed an affidavit and she got her money for her pension. So in conclusion, when you have a legacy like that,
That's right.
how dare you not fly? I don't have any problems compared to the problems they had. How dare I, and you, and all of you, not tap in to grandma's wisdom, to grandpa's wisdom, to that great-great-uncle that died a menial servant. You think he was one of the wisest people that ever lived because he lived through a hell in America that most people couldn't even imagine for themselves today. But the fact that they survived it, we must tap into that and use it as you occupy Wall Street, Main Street, 125th Street, whatever it is. Use their power and wisdom to lift yourself up. Don't complain. Get busy.
That's right. Peace.
Don't complain. And the last thing I do want to say, and you could stay, and I was just going to say this. You know, one of the things that I did as a result of learning about this, it's not just a book, Jeff. It's not about book sales. It's not about celebrity. I've been on TV 20 years. It's all good. What it's about is restoring our legacy so the world respects us, because it's worthy of respect what our ancestors survived. They weren't just slaves. They were Africans in an impossible situation who endured and fought for their freedom. That's nothing to sneeze at, and it's nothing that should ever be forgotten.
That's right.
As a result, I'm the founder of the New York chapter of the Sons and Daughters of the United States
All right,
Border
now.
Troops. And as such, I called the national group in Washington, and I said, it's time to remember the folks who died for us and made us free. So on November 5th in Washington, D.C., we will be having a national candle lighting ceremony in memory of the 200,000 Africans who fought for their freedom in the Civil War. November 5th.
Let me just say that Cheryl's not just the founder, she is the commander
Yes.
of the daughters and sons of the Civil War, the 200,000 that fought. The commander. So let's give her a salute. Stand up and give her a proper salute. My veteran committee chairperson was very good. I just want to say that I asked Mercedes Ortiz to introduce Ms. Wood. Y'all can be seated. Because this is about our young people. To know where you're going, you got to know where you came from. To handle the present situation, you got to know where you came from. And then go forward, moving forward, you got to know where you came from. And Occupy Wall Street, and the story you heard from Ms. Wills, Cheryl, tonight, and the film documentary on Harry Belafonte is the kind of things that we have to make sure our young people get exposed to. Now, the youth council needs a lot of help. And we're not always there for the youth council, adults, members. We don't come to their events when they meet. We don't participate, we don't help, we don't fundraise, we don't donate. We're not there for the youth council all the time. So I want you all to make a commitment right here, right now, that you're going to support President Ortiz just like you support President Eaton. Do I have your commitment? Yes. And maybe Ms. Wills, and her schedule permits, can come and visit our youth council and give them the same inspiration you've given us. Yes. Part of my family's from Weldon, North Carolina, Sumter, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, the Sumners and the Eatons, and then and the Hodges from Sumter, South Carolina, where the war started. A significant part of my family in Sumter was owned by the person who founded the Ku Klux Klan. Wow. So you can imagine what they had to go through and endure just to get me here. Mm-hmm. So we all are part of something, and we have to remember where we come from and why we have so much stress, why we have cancer. A lot of stuff is related back to what happened in our slavery. You know, most leukemia and all these things and hypertension is stress related. Sure. But when your mind is stressful, your blood doesn't circulate. So things like this really it re-engages us to our past and also to our future. And I want to thank Ortiz for her leadership in the Youth Council. President, you have our support. But let's give Ms. Wills another round. Final comment is, I'm going to make sure you get home by 10 o'clock tonight so you can watch Ms. Wills on Law and Order. All right, SVU. 10 o'clock tonight, Law and Order, SVU. Channel 4. This is live, you know, this is not a tape.
Okay. Right. I will be leaving, but I have books in the back. I only have a handful, so if anyone wants one, I will be happy to sign it. And thank you.
So this is right here.
Thank you.